is on the path towards recall the threshold. So no agreement with the EU, but
welcome back. In case you were just joining us, this is Society Watch on Atlantic Television Network, and we have with us today a legal practitioner, Chris Oparolu. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
All right, let's look at our first issue from Rivers State. A magistrate court sitting in Port Harcourt has remanded a man, David Olufemi Alonge, at the Nigerian Correctional Center for allegedly defiling a minor of 2 years and 11 months. Alonge, a teacher in a private school in Rumodomaya, Obiakpo local government area, was alleged to have on May 8th defiled the child, who is a pupil at the school he teaches, using his hand and his penis. The accused has been arraigned by the River State Commissioner of Police. He was not allowed to take his plea in the charge, which is said to be an offense punishable under Section 33, subsection 1 of the River State Child's Rights Law number 6 of 2022. Chief Magistrate Oge, following existing legal advice from the Office of the Attorney General that said that such an offense should be tried under Section 32, subsection 2 of the Child Rights Law of River State, directed that the accused be remanded at the Correctional Center. We seem to have so much pedophiles in our schools these days, and it's really alarming to me, because if we have teachers whom parents on a daily basis entrust their children into their hands, defiling those children. I mean, a child of 2 years and 11 months, I don't know what that teacher was thinking.
2 years and 11 months, or 8 years.
It's crazy.
I thought I saw 8 years.
8 years, 11 months.
Okay.
It's really, really crazy. I mean, I don't even know what to think about this, but what do you think can be done to check this? I mean, if parents leave their children at home, we tend to say, oh, these parents are careless, these parents are this. The blame is always on the parents, but this is in school, and we have this happening every now and then.
So, well, it is a society. We live in a society, and a lot of things happen in any given society. Of course, there is an assemblage of human beings. What is important is that there should be mechanisms. There should be law. There should be order. There should also be justice. Right? Society also cries for justice. That's why you talk about, Uputa will talk about justice also for society. So when things like this happen, bizarre things like this happen, we are fortunate, at least we are at that level where acts like this have been criminalized in our laws. So what is important is that allegation is, of course, investigated thoroughly, dispassionately, and without sentiments. That allegation should be thoroughly investigated, and then the culprit or the accused person taken to a competent court and tried. If we witness this, process, and then trial, conviction, and then sentencing, people would learn.
You think people will learn? Because almost on a weekly basis, we hear a whole lot of trials. As much as the sentencing comes once in a while because of the duration of these trials and all of that, we still have this cases.
That is the case. That is the problem, rather, right? People should the allegation should follow the due process of law. You know, investigation, charging to court, conviction, and then sentencing. Because once people do commit crime and get away with it, they themselves will have a second and third and fourth attempt. Apart from themselves, other persons, they will tell their friends, people who think like them, they will discuss in beer parlors and say, man, this is the other ones should go and try because their friend got away with it. You cannot, you can only legislate. You can make legislations and say, if you do this, it is a crime punishable with, that's all you can do in regulating human relation. You cannot effectively tell everybody how everybody will behave and expect that everybody behaves like that. So it's a society. What is incumbent on us as members of society is to ensure, like we are talking about it now, like, let society know, let people hear that, look, somebody did this, and then the person has been arraigned in court, and he will have his day in court, and when that day comes, it should also be known that so person, I don't know what was that man's name, I've forgotten.
Alonge.
Yes, the said Alonge has been found guilty and is in jail, right? So people can take precautions. People can warn themselves and have their habits or have their fantasies tamed.
Well, look forward to justice being served in this particular case so that it can also serve as deterrent to others. Let's look at another issue on Professor Ndimfon. The Nigerian Bar Association (NBA) says it has resolved to investigate allegations of sexual assault against the suspended dean of the Faculty of Law, University of Calabar, Professor Cyril Ndimfon. The legal body, in a statement made available to newsmen on Saturday, said the Nigerian Bar Association has resolved to investigate the allegations of sexual assault against the suspended dean of the Faculty of Law, University of Calabar, Professor Cyril Ndimfon. This decision was reached by the National Executive Committee of the NBA at our recently monthly meeting presided over by NBA President Mr. Yakubu Chonoko Michael, and which had all national officers of the association in attendance. The NBA next subsequently empaneled an ad hoc committee comprising the first vice president of the NBA, Mrs. Linda Rose Bala, the Assistant General Secretary of the NBA, Mr. Daniel Kip, Chairperson of the NBA Women's Forum, and the Chairman of the NBA Calabar branch to investigate the allegations against the university don. You may also be aware of the recent media report of the attempted bribe of Justice Flora Azinge of the National Assembly and State House of Assembly Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Kano. The NBA has, by a later date of 16th August 2023, formally requested His Lordship to avail the NBA of further details in this regard to enable investigations into this allegation. Now, first of all, I think I'm more interested in the Professor Ndimfon's saga and the alleged, or rather the move by NBA to carry out an investigation over that allegation of misconduct and sexual exploitation by, a professor of the law. What's your take on this?
Well, Professor Cyril Ndimfon is a lawyer, and by that is a member of the NBA, the Nigerian Bar Association. So I welcome it. It is a welcome development that the NBA has decided to investigate allegations against one of its members. The NBA is an association of remarkable distinction, and so the behavior or professional misconduct, or the conduct rather, of its members should of course be its concern. And it's not just the NBA that should do this. Ndimfon is a teacher of Law. So he's also a member of the Association of Law Teachers, National Association of Law Teachers. That association should also either independently investigate or in connivance with the MBA. Professor Cyril Ndifon is also a staff of the University of Calabar. That institution, that remarkable citadel of learning, owes its society a thorough investigation of the allegations against Professor Cyril Ndifon. It is important to note that Professor Cyril Ndifon is a law teacher, not just a law teacher, a dean of the Faculty of Law, University of Calabar, where I went to school.
I see the attachment, yeah.
Professor Cyril Ndifon is not just a law teacher, he's also a professor. He has risen within the rank and file to become a professor of law. It is only in the Faculty of Law, I think, that you would see, of course, a topic, rape, sexual harassment, being discussed and taught in classroom. So it's very contradictory that out of all the faculties in the University of Calabar, it is the Faculty of Law that over time, this is not the first time, in 2016, there were allegations, and then the university suspended Professor Cyril Ndifon. In 2020 or so, I think he came back. And then, if you followed the trend, you saw people who had graduated years ago from that faculty. People who had to drop out came to tell their own story, making the same allegation. It's true that legally speaking, Professor Cyril Ndifon is innocent, legally speaking, because he has not been found guilty in any court of competent jurisdiction. But allegations should not be thrown under the carpet, especially when those allegations are weighty, persistent, consistent, and not faceless. It takes a lot for somebody to come and say, even if you cannot assume, of course, that everybody who makes allegation, that person, of course, that allegation is true. Some allegations, of course, are based on some other motives. But that is why investigation is very important. And I commend the Nigerian Bar Association for taking the right step. First thing, and I of course, have faith in the panel, very distinguished members of the MBA that have been empaneled to carry out this investigation. So I for one, I am waiting to see, as a member of the MBA myself, I'm waiting to see what the result of that panel. And then when that result comes, when the findings of that panel comes, we'll know what we can say.
No, like you have said, these accusations against Professor Cyril Ndifon seem to be consistent over the years. Don't you think that should the university, should the MBA, and maybe the Nigerian Lawyers, Teachers Forum, whatever, had taken those investigations seriously earlier, that we wouldn't have had a repeat of it? I mean, he would have been able to tame, if at all, he was involved in any of such acts. You
are very correct, right? But it is better late than never. You know, they say something in where I come from. I'm almost tempted to speak it in my dialect. You know, they say if you see a child crying, and pointing his hand or her hand towards a particular direction, then you should go there and find out what is happening there. Right? You may not have seen what happened to the child in that direction. What happened to the child when he was there. But the fact that that child is crying and pointing to a certain direction, people have been crying. People have been making allegations. Professor Cyril Ndifom is not the only teacher in the faculty of law.
Why only him?
Why is he? That is the cry I'm talking about. That's the proverbial cry I'm talking about. So I agree with you completely that there were opportunities for a proper investigation to be done, especially given the very delicate matter of this issue, where people, young girls who were sent by their parents to study law at a prestigious faculty like the Faculty of Law, University of Calabar, in the Faculty of Law, would make such weighty allegations. I agree with you that before now, a thorough investigation should have been carried out. And then it's easy because there are people, I mean, they post under their handles, they post with their handle. There are people, call these people, find out from them, listen to them, call him for himself, give him a fair hearing. There are rules. There are rules of engagement. From the story, you would say, I was asked to go and write tests in his private office and all that. Is that true? When did it happen? You know, you don't even need to talk about rape, because to prove the crime of rape, you must of course prove first that there was sexual intercourse. We don't have to wait for it to get to that level.
Well, this is a very serious issue. Well, and also the Nigerian Feminist Forum has decried the rise in cases of sexual harassment in Nigerian higher institutions. The association, in a statement made available to newsmen on Saturday, said it was deeply concerned by recent allegations of sexual harassment against the suspended dean of the Faculty of Law, University of Calabar, Professor Cyril Ndifon. Says we strongly condemn any form of sexual harassment of women in tertiary institutions and stand in solidarity with the brave female students who have come forward to voice their experiences. The suspension of Mr. Ndifon from his position as dean of the faculty is a necessary step towards addressing the serious allegations against him. However, this incident highlights the urgent need for the president to sign the Sexual Harassment of Students in Tertiary Education Prohibition Bill into law. We therefore call on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to sign the bill into law to protect students against sexual harassment by educators and promote ethical standards in tertiary institutions in the country. Now, I was having a conversation with someone and I brought up this bill that should this bill have been signed early enough, maybe we wouldn't have been here, because whoever is going to think of committing any offense that anyone would even think of accusing you, you would probably think of the consequences. But and then the person said to me, we also have other laws that address sexual harassment, not just in tertiary institutions. We have these laws abound in, of course, our laws. So why do we think that just signing this bill into law is going to put an end to sexual harassment in Nigerian tertiary institutions? So what's the take?
No. But before I answer that, let me say that this association, I'm trying to get the name if I can.
Nigerian Feminist Forum.
Yes. Beautiful, wonderful association. They should go beyond feeling consigned, right? And issuing statements to getting involved. Because it's not just the University of Calabar, it's not just the Faculty of Law.
That's what they are saying,
Yes.
that across the country.
They should go beyond such statements. Those such statements are welcomed, but there are things they can do. Actively get involved. Visit the University of Calabar. Try to meet with the students. Listen to them. right? This law we are talking about, move for his signing. There are a lot of things they can do. Why we less commending what they have done, right? Because it is a serious scourge. I can't understand why I would send my daughter to the university and a man even older than me, who is a father, would sexually harass my daughter. That is madness. And society would do nothing since 2015 and even beyond. Now, back to your question. Of course, nobody is saying the sexual harassment bill, if it's been signed into law, would of course totally eliminate sexual harassment in tertiary institutions or in the society. The first story we took on was the issue of defilement. The defilement is a crime codified in the criminal code, right? Doesn't it happen? So it would not eradicate it completely, but it is now a law that somebody can be charged under, right? The difference is, look, you may want to charge if investigation is done, and of course, right, there are things that gives you reasonable cause to believe that, for example, that the professor is guilty of rape, then you can now begin to charge him under that section because it is a crime, and you try to prove. Like I told you, all crimes must be defined, and in defining those crimes, you get the ingredients that must be proved by the prosecution in court. One, for rape, is that there was sexual intercourse, penetration. Two, that sexual intercourse happened without the consent. If with the consent, that consent was fraudulently obtained. So these are things it makes it a bit difficult. But if we have a sexual harassment bill signed into law that is becoming an act, people can be charged. Now you don't have to prove that there was sexual. You don't have to wait for that. You understand? So the University of Calabar can look at the whole investigation, get the facts, and say, we are dismissing you. You have been suspended, but with what we have gathered, we are dismissing you. But they may not be able to prove a case of rape against Ndifo in court because they may not have enough of that evidence to prove that in court. But when the sexual harassment bill becomes a law, besides suspending and dismissing him, there can be an action, a charge brought against him in court. Right? So that is the difference. And then that one, the proof will be different. Maybe if you are able to show some acts of harassment, that suffices, and that will grant a conviction. Right? So these are allegations, like I've said. Professor Cyril Ndifo is of course innocent. That is the law until proven guilty. But we insist that all those allegations must be thoroughly, critically, clinically investigated, and then based on the findings, the necessary bodies which he belongs to should do the needful. And of course, I use this opportunity and medium to join the Association of Feminists, right, in saying that law should be looked into clinically, critically, and then signed. That bill should be looked into and then signed into law, so that if we have 4, 10, 15 convictions of teachers, lecturers, the other persons can begin to ask themselves, is this how you want to end?
I mean, the students, female students can now breathe in our Nigerian universities. Well, I know of the concept of first-time offender and, of course, someone who has offended severally, but this is at the level of accusations. Does the law say anything about someone who has been accused for the same thing over and over again?
Well, of course, accusations are mere accusations and will remain accusations, right? Until those accusations are proven. We've also seen cases where, people are accused falsely rather, of rape or some other offenses. So I am for a thorough investigation, right? That you have been accused 300 times does not make you guilty of that offense. But listen to me. What it does, it calls the attention of the society to say, let us properly, particularly the delicacy of this particular offense. Because I find it very, very serious. It takes a lot for somebody. In fact, some people who have been sexually harassed do not come out.
Yeah.
They suffer in silence because they don't want to be stigmatized. So, rape is not something, or sexual harassment is not something you can just, you cannot completely rule it off. People can, but on a scale of 1 to 10, I can bet you that at least 6.
All right, let's just hope that the investigations go on thoroughly and that the president also heeds to the call of the Nigerian Feminist Forum to assent to that bill prohibiting sexual harassment in Nigerian tertiary institutions. Let's look at our next story from Niger State. A suspected thief caught in Lapai local government area of Niger State on Friday afternoon was set ablaze by some residents after he allegedly kidnapped 2 children. The suspect, whose identity had yet to be known, was carrying the children away to an unknown destination when he was accosted by some residents who asked him where he was taking the children to. Unable to give any credible answer, it was learned that they descended on him and beat him to a coma. Not satisfied, the mob gathered wood and tires and put them on the suspected thief, while some others provided fuel, which they poured on the lifeless body before setting him ablaze. I don't even want to talk about the video. I'm sure it's not something anyone wants to look at. We've been talking about jungle justice. Now, I understand the issue of kidnapping, especially in that area in Niger State, is one very serious issue because it seems to be happening every now and then. And then you find someone with 2 children whom he can't account for how he got hold of those children and where he was taking them to. And then the next thing is for the mob, maybe angered by the incidents of kidnapping in the areas, especially school children and all of that, descended on him. What's your take?
There are a lot of ways to look at it. Of course, nobody should support jungle justice. Nobody, no reasonable person, not to talk of a lawyer, right? Or a Port Harcourt person. Because we saw what happened in Alo.
Right.
Yes, the Alo 4. How people had some 4 innocent boys. We are mobbed. So jungle justice is a no-no. It's a no-no. And then those persons should be tried. They should be tried in court. But again, having said that, this is why the judiciary is very important. The judiciary must be alive to its responsibility in dispensing justice timelessly. It's understandable that there will be jungle justice in societies where there is no trust. There is no trust in the judiciary. those mob probably would think that, listen, if this guy is connected to somebody, they get him, they get the police, inform they will, in 2 days, 3 days, he's out of that place. The criminal justice, the administration of criminal justice system in the country has to be made effective, because if it is not, it signals a collapse to the Nigerian society. People must have faith in law. People must have faith in the judiciary. They must have faith in our courts. And so the responsibility to strengthen the judiciary beyond the manipulation of certain individuals, it is very, very, very important. And it's a duty on all of us. Because you see, there was this thing on Twitter about all eyes on the judiciary, all eyes on the judiciary, and people were mad, and I was saying, for God's sake, all eyes should be on the judiciary, because it is indeed the last hope of the common man. So if you tell the common man not to fix all his eyes on the judiciary, where would you tell him to fix it on? The judiciary in Nigeria must be protected. It must be made efficient, effective, and functional, so that at all times citizens would trust that justice would not just be done, but will be seen to have been done, and timelessly too.
Well, we hope that the judiciary would do so much to, revive the trust of Nigerians in them. And why that has been said, we also do say that jungle justice is not a solution to any problem. The law must take its full course, and we must follow due process in whatever we are doing. Well, this is the much we'll take on today's program. Thank you so much, Barrister Chris, for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you, our viewers, for being out there. I am Anita Obari. If you missed anything, you can just follow us on our social media platforms: Twitter at Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok at Atlantic TV Network 1. Do remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress.